Crown of Thirds, Thorns for the dirt mile. Mr. Sydney was at Keeneland this morning over the poly track. Again, this is going to be hand-timed by our crew. Mr. Sydney, a versatile sort. He is certainly a horse whose biggest accomplishment was on the turf. They give him a try in the dirt mile.
Well, Simon gave us the news yesterday. Even though the dirt mile was Mr. Sydney's second preference, that's where he's going to end up, in the dirt mile. And Mott is quoted as saying that when he ran on the dirt the last time with Desormeaux, he rode him terribly, and he said Desormeaux would indeed admit that. Mr. Sydney's coming into this race off a race at Keeneland on the soft turf, of disappointment of sorts, and perhaps that's why he's going to be on the synthetic. You look at him, this is truly just a maintenance work.
It certainly is. I like the way he's hitting the ground here. He's a horse that has been well spotted over his career here, and he's finishing up nicely through the lane there just to keep him ticking over. He's a fit racehorse, and Bill Mott just wanted to maintain his aerobic capacity there with this work. 48-3, hand-timed. And that one second-place finish on the synthetic surface, by the way, beating a horse called Bulls Bay that is pre-entered in the Classic. So the form of that allowance race was pretty good.
Mr. Sydney, greatest triumph on the turf course at Keeneland in the Maker's Mark Mile. And here he will be on the main track at Oak Tree. When we return, we'll look to the main track in Blind Luck, preparing for the Juvenile Fillies. And then Forever Together, the queen of the turf. Can she get back to her winning ways? The lights are on after hours here at Oak Tree, but it's always a good time to sign up for a TVG account. Bet 50, get 50. Visit TVG.com or pick up the phone. Call 1-888-PLAY-TVG. Deposit and wager early for 2 championship days of racing, Friday, November 6th and Saturday, November 7th. There is always the hope that in the juvenile field there might be a champion for next year. So maybe the thoughts of the Kentucky Oaks could be on the mind here. If you get by the Grey Goose Juvenile Fillies, here are the pre-entries.
Well, Blind Luck would be one of the best out of the West, no doubt, winning the Oakleaf Stakes last time out. Negligee winning the Alcibiades at Keeneland would be the best from the East, and that's where they get to meet on Championship Day, and that takes care of year-end honors.
Here's Blind Luck this morning at Santa Anita, going 5 furlongs. Tyler Bay's aboard.
Yeah, what I'm not sure about this work here. This is not a stoutly made filly. She's a little light behind. The first thing I notice here in the early stages of the work is her tail carriage. Look how she carries her tail. It's absolutely out horizontal there, and she doesn't have a lot of muscle tone back there. But what do you make of this, Frank?
Well, I agree with you, Simon. I mean, you need to see a filly that's going to come into this race and she's going to give you a wow look, you know, because this is the big race. And I just don't see it. She may, you know, you can't put everything into the way they work and everything like that. But if you're to ask me yes or no, I'll say no with this one.
I got to agree. I mean, here you're looking at a horse that's going to be heavily bet. This is a chance to probably play against. The one positive thing I do see from her is if she was really struggling and really not enjoying what she's doing, I don't think you'd see those ears doing what they're doing, which is forward and waiting for a command. So it tells you that at least she's comfortable doing it no matter how she looks on the track.
5 furlongs, 101-1 for Blind Luck, preparing for the Grey Goose Juvenile Fillies. Now we return with our discussion of the Juvenile Fillies. We were just talking about Blind Luck. Let's now bring in Frank Lyons for analysis of Always a Princess. Always a Princess out working this morning, 5 furlongs here at Santa Anita. Joe Steiner aboard.
Yeah, I love this work. Guys, I don't know what you thought of this work, but she goes off. Look, she's going to go in company now. She's going to get up to her workmate here in a second, and she goes off so relaxed. She just seems to be doing everything right, and she's got the main man in her corner, Bob Baffert, and he seems to do no wrong when it comes to Breeders' Cup. And I love the way when she makes a move up to this filly or whatever on her inside, and you see the rider there take another little hold of her, and she's going well. I think she's going to turn the tables on Blind Luck.
I agree with you, Frank. I really like this work. I like the way when she got to a stablemate within about a length of her, she jumped in the bridle. You could clearly see the rider have to restrain Always a Princess. If he lets her go here, he's going to open up by 4, 5, 6, 7 lengths. She's clearly going much better than a stablemate. She's running like a true stakes filly that she is. And Joe Steiner just motionless here as she comes into the stretch here.
Well, that's because she's a speed filly, guys. She's a speed filly that got tired making the lead in her last start, going 2 turns. So the question is not how aggressive or how quick she is away from the pole. The question is, can she get the mile on the 16th? We've watched a lot of Baffert horses work in company through the years on the work shows, and what he likes is to see a little finish on the end. I don't think we see it here.
The final time is going to suggest otherwise, but that's why you watch the work. So the final time was actually the quickest 4.5 furlongs, 61 tried the distance this morning. Always a Princess went the fastest at 58-2, but not leaving much of an impression here on our works analysis. Then there is Negligee, and Tom, you loved her ever since that win at Keeneland. Is she maintaining her form? We're looking at a half-mile work. Simon Harris up.
Well, that's the big question. Negligee, can she repeat what she did at Keeneland? Because I think if she can, she's a major player in this race and probably a major player at a price. Simon, when you're watching this work, as you watch any work, you want to know if a horse is in form, if they're holding their form together from their last race. The first thing that catches my eye on Negligee, she's not a big filly, and obviously she's coming back from an October 9th race. So I want to see her look good throughout the work. To this point, she does indeed look good, perhaps drifting out a little bit there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, she's going very quick for a filly that came from off the pace going long. She's got a tremendous amount of speed, but look at her hip. She's got a lot of wasted high knee action, high head carriage there. Maybe that's just the way she is. This is the first time I've seen her train in the morning, but there's a lot of wasted motion.
I think he's holding her in right there. I think she wants to drift out a little bit there. You can see that right rein dangling. I think she wants to get off the rail a little bit there. Not necessarily a great sign.
Half mile, 46-4, so you're tempering your enthusiasm a little bit, Tom?
For the moment, this is a filly that I want to watch the rest of the week for sure.
That's the whole thing. Remember, there's still some days leading up to these two championship days, and a lot can happen between now and then, and we'll have all that right here on The Works. When we return, we look to our calendar. It is Sunday, November 1st. That means a focus on the filly and mare turf as well as the turf. It is the first day in November, and on the Works calendar, that means the filly and mare turf, and the turf is our focus. Let's start with the filly and mare turf. Forever Together, defending champ, so good all of last year, and certainly that led to her Eclipse Award win. But now she may not even go favored in this race. Let's take a look at the pre-entries.
You've got Miram in there, a defending Breeders' Cup champion of sorts. She was in the juvenile turf last year and try and come back against her older counterparts. Pure Clan, Rutharian for trainer Christophe Clement, and Visit on the outside for Bobby Frankel, that was second in the yellow ribbon last time out.
Let's start with Forever Together. She worked this morning over at Keeneland again. Another situation where hand-timed Barry Weissman up.
Yeah, the question you have to see here, and I think what we're looking for, Tom, is A, is she the filly that she was last year? And is this work going to tell us anything about that? One thing we remarked earlier about informed decision, a stablemate going to be working well out in the middle of the track. That is the same here for Forever Together. She's in the middle of the racetrack. She's obviously been given those instructions by trainer Jonathan Shepard to stay out there. But is she the same filly as last year?
Well, I think the work is quite similar to her stablemate that we watched earlier in the show. And another thing to keep in mind here, the synthetic is not a surface that she races on. She's a grass horse. When you watch her right here, you're looking at a horse getting over a surface. I'm not saying she doesn't enjoy it. I'm just saying that's not the surface she runs on. One thing unusual about her, I thought she came from much further back in her last start at Keeneland, back on October the 10th, than I've used to seeing her.
Yeah, the ground was very, very soft that day, and she was absolutely out of it. 20 lengths out of it and got beat a length and a half. Here she's being asked to finish up pretty much identical to a stablemate, as we said, informed decision. You put these works side by side, they look eerily similar.
I think you can live with that.
Yeah, I think you can.
Final time that we caught Forever Together in this morning at Keeneland, 5 furlongs, a minute and 2/5. Here locally at Hollywood Park, Visit was out. This is actually going back a couple of days. Jose Dominguez aboard and going a half mile.
When you look at Visit, you know, you're talking about another horse that's coming in off a prep on October the 10th, just got beaten in the yellow ribbon. And what I'm looking for here is another maintenance style work, and that's exactly what I think they want. When you talk about horses, I think it's overrated talking about horses on this or that lead, particularly down the stretch. Visit is going to stay on her left lead, and a lot of people will make note of that. But to me, particularly down the straightaways, right or left lead, I'm not that concerned about it.
Well, I mean, I agree to that an extent. I mean, I don't think you can run a whole race on one lead, but I think the thing to take away from this is that the rider isn't asking for a lead change. This might be the way she travels in the morning. To get the lead change, you're going to have to ask her to come off the bridle, quicken up, maybe shift her weight a little bit. Just leave her alone. If this is her, that's it. I bet probably in the afternoon she switches her lead. She was 4th in this race last year. Unfortunately, she has been winless in all her stateside starts.
It's a very good controlled work.
Yep.
Visit 2 mornings ago at Hollywood Park over the cushion track, a half mile in 48 seconds flat as she prepares for the filly and mare turf. It is an exciting time at TVG. Our parent company is now Betfair. They are the leading online wagering site anywhere in the world. They also have a very talented staff of people who bring you the best information with which you can win money through their services. We are very pleased to have as our Betfair correspondent joining us now, Graham Cunningham. Graham, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here. The hugely exciting week for everyone connected with European racing.